It may be that Joe Biden is not satisfied with his current level of incompetence. What I mean is that you're probably thinking, what? I mean, this guy's already Afghanistan, people falling out of planes, now Ukraine. I mean, isn't he the Olympian incompetent of our presidencies? But I think Biden's sitting back and thinking to himself, no, I'm close. But what about Carter? Wasn't he more incompetent than me? I mean, hostage crisis. This guy was shocked by the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. He's like, Carter's probably a little ahead of me. I probably need to do one more big one, at least in my first year, so I can be the clear winner of the Nincompoopery Award for presidents. I think Biden's going for that. And the reason I say this is at a time when the guy's flailing on by the way, not just in foreign policy, he's flailing on the domestic front, he's flailing on the cultural front, and and I think here of like Joe Rogan's phrase. I mean, here's a guy with like he's getting ready for a long hike, and he's just got a battery that's really flickering. And we're talking here, of course, about the neurons in Biden's brain. So you've got a guy who's faltering on every front, but he's like, I got to open up a new front. What's the new front? The Iran deal. And apparently Biden's idea here, and the Biden administration's idea, is let's sneak this by. Let's get this through without having to get it approved by Congress. Now, you might think, well, I got a Democratic Congress. Even though the Senate's really close, we can break the tie with Kamala Harris. But Biden's not confident in that. He doesn't want to go that route. And Republicans already know, so they've warned him. They're like, listen, don't try to do this Iran deal without getting Senate approval. This is a treaty with another country, another countries. There might be other countries involved in the deal, and it needs Senate ratification. But Biden's like, no, it's not. It doesn't need Senate ratification. Why not? Well, according to the Biden guys, it doesn't need ratification because it's a redo of the old deal. So even though the old deal was canceled by Trump, even though Trump imposed sanctions on Iran, Biden wants to, by the way, lift those sanctions. Biden might even be thinking of, if we don't buy oil from Russia, and that's a possibility, maybe we'll go buy it from Iran. Think about it. Instead of buying it from one bad guy, you go to another bad guy, who's, by the way, kind of in league with the other bad guy, when you have oil yourself that you could do on your own. So this is the level of foolishness we're dealing with. Now, with regard to this Iran deal, a very bad deal. It's a bad deal because it pretends to stop the Iranians from moving forward with nuclear technology. The Iranians, of course, have taken the kind of pious approach that, we would never think of building a nuclear weapon, even though building a nuclear weapon would make us numero uno in the Middle East, even though we'd be a bigger cheese than places like Saudi Arabia. Yeah, they have Mecca and Medina, but guess what? We have a nuclear weapon. Cairo's Egypt's a bigger country. It's got a bigger middle class. In many ways, it's defined the Middle East, but so what? We have a nuclear weapon, do they? No. So Iran has every incentive. Again, back to realism, back to global power politics. How do you get other countries in the world to respect you? How do you get them to call you sir? Answer, you have a nuclear weapon. So the Iranians know this. Everybody knows this. And so the Iran deal, which was intended to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon, was nothing more than lifting sanctions, releasing Iranian funds that have been frozen in the United States. So what you end up doing is subsidizing their nuclear weapons, subsidizing their ability to go ahead and build a weapon. And not only then do they have the weapon, but they also have the respectability of, oh yeah, we're a respectable country in the world. Look, we've got this Iran deal where everybody else is signing on the dotted line, right? And here's our signature. So Biden is again taking a rogue regime, a regime that is, by the way, the kind of canker sore of the Middle East. Much of the problems in the Middle East would go away if in some way this kind of Khomeini regime that's now been in place for 50 years were to dissolve and go away. And so our Iran policy should be based on long-term, I would call it rollback. Figure out a way that we can knock out this regime in Iran. I'm not talking about military force. There are lots of people in Iran who don't like the Iranian regime. And so we're back again to this kind of old Reagan doctrine idea, which is, listen, let's find the people who in these countries want freedom, and let's figure out ways that we can help them. By the way, this is also a model that applies to Ukraine. It's a model we could have used from the very beginning, which is to tell the Ukrainians that, yeah, we support them, but it is their country. They're going to have to fight for it. They fight, we help. We're trying to help now, but we're trying to help at a late stage when the Russian convoy of tanks is already at their doorstep. And with regard to Iran, we can only hope that we don't engage in foolish actions one on top of another that will ultimately result in conflict there as well.